Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL channel. In this video today, I'm going to be recapping a few of the games in Week 8 that I thought were the best and also giving my quick snap thoughts on all of the games that happened on Sunday. The Jets amazingly won their second game of the season on Sunday and against the AFC's top seed in the Bengals. The Bengals were really high-flying coming into this game, and maybe the Bengals overlooked the Jets a little bit, or they'd come off such an emotional win against the Ravens last weekend that coming and playing against the Jets was a bit of a downer, and maybe they just didn't turn up. The Bengals had a really tough day, except for Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a good one, but other than that, Jamar Chase got a touchdown, but no one really else contributed to the Bengals offense as much as Joe Mixon did. The Jets, on the other hand, played fantastically well, and they weren't afraid to air the ball out, even with their backup, Mike White. It shows that Zach Wilson or Mike White, they just want to throw the ball and just produce as many passing yards as possible. Mike White had over 400 yards passing, and which is the first time a Jets quarterback has had that since the year 2000. So the Jets have really gone for it in this game. Although saying that, they still aren't great, and I think it was clear to see because they still needed a Shaq Lawson interception right by the Bengals goal line in order to secure or even get just about tied with the Bengals so they could later on secure the win. The Titans just about managed to edge out their AFC South division rivals in the Colts, and in quite amazing fashion, winning the game 34-31 in overtime. I thought it was such a crazy game. The Colts kind of started off dominating in the first half, but the Titans roared back into it, and by the second half actually ended up tying the game. And AJ Brown was probably the biggest contributor. He had 155 yards and a touchdown, and Tannehill was looking to him all day to make big plays, and he came up with it. It really shows that he wasn't feeling well the previous few weeks, because the last 2 weeks since he's been fully healthy, he's been unbelievable. I think if Carson Wentz had had a guy like AJ Brown, they would have been a lot better. They only had Pittman, who got 2 touchdowns, but he's not the kind of guy that AJ Brown is, and he's not the kind of guy that's going to change a game like AJ Brown did. Tannehill and Wentz had very weirdly similar stats, both with over 200 yards, both with 3 touchdowns, and both with 2 interceptions as well. So I think the difference maker pretty much was just AJ Brown. Derrick Henry suffered a big foot injury in this one, and it's just come out that he will need surgery on that foot as well. So we really got to hope for the Titans' sake that AJ Brown and Julio Jones can kind of pick up the slack a little bit until Derrick Henry's able to get back. The Dolphins against the Bills was a very close game for the first 3 quarters. They both had 3 points for the vast majority of the game until the Bills were able to secure a touchdown later on into the 4th quarter. But I think the Dolphins defense performed really well considering how they have been for the last few weeks. They held the Bills to 3rd and longs pretty much all day, and only special plays from Cole Beasley and Josh Allen really dug them out of those deep 3rd and long situations. The Dolphins hung on really well, but just weren't really able to keep up with the Bills eventually because their offensive line was so poor throughout the whole game, and they weren't able to get enough time for Tua to throw anything further than about 5 yards. So the offense was really hampered by just lots and lots of short plays, and that is perfect for the Bills' defense, which is currently the best in the league. If the Dolphins aren't able to get anything more than a few yards here and there, the safeties of the Bills' defense can come down, the cornerbacks can play underneath the receivers, and it'll make it really difficult for the Dolphins' running game and passing game to get anything going because the Bills will just hold them in and it will stop the Dolphins from doing literally anything while they're so bad at defending Tua for any amount of time at all. He was under pressure from 1-2 seconds after the snap, and that was the key difference in this one, which really stopped the Dolphins from staying in the game late on. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season that the Dolphins would be lower than the Jets at a record of 1-7 at this point in the season, I would have laughed you out of the room. Last year they were fantastic and almost got into the playoffs with 10 wins, and this year completely the opposite. And the worst thing of all, they don't even get their 1st round pick next year. The Eagles get it. I did think the Saints were going to beat the Buccaneers this weekend, and they had an absolutely great game. 3 massive turnovers from Tom Brady, 2 interceptions, 1 for Gardner Johnson, 1 for PJ Williams, and a forced fumble as well by Cameron Jordan. The Saints looked fantastic on defense, and their coaching staff, especially defensive coordinator Dennis Allen and head coach Sean Payton, made the Saints look unbelievable against the Buccaneers. Since Tom Brady has joined the Buccaneers, they are 0-3 in the regular season against the Saints, so I'm pretty sure at this point they must be his kryptonite. The Saints really were fantastic. Even though they lost starting quarterback Jameis Winston to a torn ACL, it was announced today, Trevor Siemian came in and still had a good game, putting up 150 yards, and also having Mark Ingram back in the Saints locker room with Alvin Kamara creates a really great environment for the backfield to thrive and the running game of the Saints, and really help move that football down the field. At the end of the day, the Saints defense and the Saints offense put in a fantastic team performance. And I think it's safe to say that Tom Brady, despite having 4 touchdowns, did not look himself. And Bruce Arians was really not happy with the amount of penalties the Bucs were giving up. At the end of the day, though, the Saints were the better team and did deserve the win. Let's see what happens when both of these teams face off in week 17, I think it is, because that is going to be a big game and it might actually be for the division at this point. Cooper Rush was in at quarterback for Dak Prescott for the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, which could have gone very badly for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott has been playing at a very elite level so far this year, and I think that it's quite telling because the Cowboys have been very reliant on Dak Prescott so far this season. Well, they also have a great running game, but Dak Prescott has been playing at an elite level, so he's been very important for them so far this season. But saying that though, the Cowboys, even with Cooper Rush taking the field instead of Dak Prescott because of an injury, he actually played really well and managed to get 325 yards on the day as well. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper were playing like his best friends, and they both had over 100 yards each, and Amari Cooper came up with some amazing catches late in the second half. Micah Parsons also had a fantastic game on defense for the Cowboys with 11 tackles, I think it was, and also 4 tackles for loss, which were drive-ending tackles a lot of the time for the Vikings. The Vikings, they're a bit of a weird team at the moment because on paper they should have blown the Cowboys out of the water with Dak Prescott out, but they seem to play to their opponent's level pretty much every single game, which does keep them close in each game, but I think in certain games they definitely should be blowing out the other team because of the amount of talent they have, especially offensively. But maybe that's something they need to work on, creating the tempo and the momentum of the game themselves rather than relying so heavily on the opponent and trying to keep up with them instead. To summarise all the games from NFL's Week 8, the Bengals really looked off of it this weekend and the Jets and Mike White really capitalised on it. The Titans came back to win in overtime after a massive day from AJ Brown. The Rams were completely dominant, winning 35-0 until they took off all their starters, so the Texans got some points. The Steelers won a real war of attrition with their running game, and the Browns just couldn't run it quite as well as the Steelers. The Eagles had a very dominant win against the Lions, and their running game was fantastic. The 49ers defense was just a little bit too good for the Bears' really passive offense. The Panthers were finally able to snap their losing streak after a very cagey game with the Falcons. The Dolphins kept it really close for 3/4 of the game, but Josh Allen and Cole Beasley were just a little bit too good, and the Dolphins' offensive line was a lot bit too bad. The Jaguars had absolutely no answer for a backup quarterback, which is really worrying if you're a Jaguars fan. The Broncos, they only ever beat bad teams, and the Washington football team are a bad team. The Saints really dominated against the Buccaneers, getting 3 turnovers, and it was a massive win for the Saints. And finally, the Vikings should have done a lot better, but the Cowboys and Cooper Rush managed to edge out the victory in Minnesota. So thank you guys so much for watching this video of me recapping all of the games from Week 8. Please comment down below what you thought of all the games this weekend and what game was your favourite as well. Please also head to wallofnfl.com to check out exclusive articles and breaking news and all of our social media pages as well. Wall of NFL on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. And also thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.